Hello and welcome to Coffee with Carrie. Have your friends or family members told you that you're still single because you're just way too picky? Do you agree with them, or do you think they're not only crossing boundaries, but out of their minds? Well, today I want to talk about those people, what they're telling you, and figure out whether they are right or wrong and what you should do about it. If that's at all interesting, I hope you'll stick around because that's what's on the agenda. If you're new here, I'm Carrie. I'm a matchmaker and a dating coach, and I'm concerned that maybe they're right. Maybe you are too picky. I mean, I can't say for sure. We haven't discussed this, have we? But a lot of people are, and we can examine this a bit further. But first, I just want to assure you that I am somewhat comfortable in saying that your friends and relatives are not trying to be rude or wanting you to settle for any old buddy. They probably don't want you to pick somebody who's not good for you just to get you out of their hair and get you married off to the wrong person. I think maybe you've been rightly annoyed by their input, but also looking at it from just one perspective, yours. They're probably not saying to lower your standards. They're suggesting you examine your parameters and the rules that you've created around dating, the rules and guidelines around who you want to date and who you'll date again. Family members are very guilty of this. They're often offering up opinions where they're not requested and probably not appreciated, if we're being honest. They'll insist the reason you don't have anybody yet is because it's you. You're too picky. And you're thinking they're telling you to lower your standards, but I don't think that's what they mean, because I don't think people who care about you want you to end up with somebody you don't want or like. Again, I just want to reiterate that. But I think I do know what they may be thinking. I've had clients over the years whose standards and what they're looking for, their list of must-haves and are just not coinciding with them finding a partner, and we have to examine that. So what truly are the non-negotiables? What are your for sure deal breakers? And what are the parameters you've set that are not working for you and not working to your benefit? That's what we have to look at. That's what your family is not saying well. That's what your friends are talking about when they say you're picky. So let's break this down into two separate scenarios. One being that you're not even meeting these people in person. Nobody is hitting your must-haves to even get you out the door and on a date. So if you're being that picky, it's likely your parameters are too small, too limiting. If someone is being disqualified before you even meet them, we really need to examine all of this and see where the breakdown is happening. What am I referring to? One, I'm talking about age maybe. You could say, I want somebody 5 years older or 5 years younger. And then there's somebody who's 7 years older or younger who would be great, just on the other side of your parameters. So don't make a rule around it. Be open, because I'm not an ageist. 9 years older, my husband. Second long-term relationship, 20 years age difference. Wonderful and interesting people come in different age packages. So why limit yourself when there could be a unique person that you could connect with just outside your limit that you set? Secondly, big one is height. Girl, 5'1" inches tall. I screened her last week and she said, yeah, I only date guys over 6 feet tall. Why? You're 5'1". I have gals, clients who are 6 feet tall. Them, I understand wanting to date a guy over 6 feet. But this is something that society has told you is desirable, and you may not have thought about it, and you may not even enjoy it. Do you think that tilting your head back like this to kiss somebody that's 1.5 feet taller than you is great? You may want to examine that. I'm not saying change your desires. I'm saying take a closer look at it. I did a whole episode about people who live more remotely, and they have to expand their parameters for distance. Sometimes people even have to move. We move for jobs. Why not love, right? But I just reached out to a client this week that I had exhausted everyone that fell within his specifications that we discussed ahead of time. He wanted somebody in the city. And I said, when I called, I said, can we look in the suburbs? And he said, yeah, we definitely can. So good. Maybe that's something that you would look at. Instead of keeping it within a 10-mile radius, maybe open it up and get some people who are out in the suburbs or the next town over, a nearby city. However you have that set now, determine whether you can grow that out to meet new people who might just be great for you. Hair color. Having hair at all. Some women love bald men. Some people, not at all. So the point is to give somebody a chance in that scenario, to let them show you who they are, to find out if they're a great person for you, and you might actually connect. What else? Body types, that's a big one. A lot of people have very strict preferences around body type. Some people are very fit and active themselves, and they want somebody just like them. But I've then happily matched some fit gals with some guy who's got a bit of a dad bod, and it's worked out great. What about somebody who's working on getting back to a healthier lifestyle because they're also very active, but they've got a few pounds they're working on due to some unforeseen event or setback? I had a gal, super athletic, who had a knee replacement at 36 years old. Took her a while to get back to being herself. You see, somebody you don't think they're your type physically, it could be a temporary situation with a good reason, and you're making this decision off of a photograph. They could love all the physical activities that you're into, all of them exactly. The skiing, the hiking, all the things you love to do. So I'm saying have a conversation. Find out what they like to do. Get your questions answered, maybe even by an actual date. If you're on a dating app, sometimes you have your parameters set there, set for politics or religion. And some people can't be flexible on this at all, and I totally get it. It's about values for a lot of people. But some people have more tolerance for people with other opinions than their own. Maybe examine those parameters for yourself and see if you could meet somebody who's different than you and still be accepting enough to give them a shot. Maybe not. It's just worth pondering is my point. Next, there are some of you that aren't even meeting people because they have things that don't fall within your preferences for common interests. I really say it all the time, and I believe it, that people don't have to have the exact same interests to be a really great match. I know way too many people who are happily together and have really very different interests. I mean, it's nice if you have a couple that overlap, but I look at it like this. You have your interests, he has his interests, and you have some that you can enjoy together. We both like to travel. We both like trying new restaurants. We both love tennis. Yeah, but he likes to play golf. Well, he can do that with friends. She likes to go on a 5-mile hike on occasion. You go, girl. Your interests don't have to be aligned to perfection. People can have interests they do on their own. Sometimes you can introduce somebody to something you enjoy and see if that's a fit for them too. But it doesn't have to be. And then we're going to move on to not lowering your standards, but perhaps exploring your parameters about people whom you have met but have decided against seeing again. Now, this is where we're talking about second chances after a first date. As you may know, my personal experience with clients is that I've had numerous, well, at least a handful of clients who've said, no, I don't want to go on a second date with this person. Where I then said, you need to go on a second date with this person. And they go, and they are now married or living together years later. So if you're quickly judging books by covers and not giving people a second chance because it wasn't perfect, maybe you thought their sense of humor wasn't aligned with yours. Well, maybe you just hadn't gotten to that part of who they are. Maybe humor isn't something that they have access to on a first date. Be more open to second dates, finding out who people really are, which is much more likely on a second date than a first. Don't throw up a stop sign after one date if there's any chance that this person could surprise you and be an amazing partner to you in the future. Also, if you have a type and your type isn't serving you well, take a darn look at it, examine it. I have an episode about type. If that could be helpful, I'll share it with you at the end of this one. Perhaps you just need to be reminded that your friends are not trying to convince you to settle. So, like me, your people, they want someone also who appreciates and values you for the person you are. Just think about it. That's gotta be it. Well, I hope you found that interesting and or helpful. Here's that episode on having a type, something else worth examining to determine whether it's helping you or hurting you. So don't forget to give Mom her thumbs up before you leave, hit the subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you back here again soon. Until next time, thank you, and have a good one.